This video is brought to you by Recurrent, an essential EV tool that gives free access to TFL EV viewers in the US. With Recurrent, EV shoppers can check range and battery info on used cars. EV owners can connect to compare their range and battery health to similar vehicles. And EV sellers can use Recurrent to get more money for their sales. With Recurrent, we can find, drive, and sell electric cars positively. Click on the link in the description below to get free access to Recurrent's amazing EV tools.
This is the 2026 Dodge Charger Daytona Scat Pack 4-door. And let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is that Dodge has a problem selling an EV to its core customers. It's basically like selling fish hooks to fish. They just don't want them. If anybody wants a lot of horsepower and that sound, it has to be the Dodge Charger buyer or Challenger buyer, but they want it to come with, you know, the pistons going up and down, the explosions, and not just a facsimile of it from this Fratzonic exhaust. So in this fast take, we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna talk about this 2026 Scat Pack, and let's start where we always start, and that is with the styling of the car. Now, I think this car looks so good. I mean, Ralph Gilles, who is the head of design over at Stellantis, did a lot of this design along with other designers, of course. And I love this like arrow wing that he built into the front of the car. It's everything that a Charger should be. Now, it's a little confusing because once upon a time in the previous generation, the Charger was the 4-door and the Challenger was the 2-door. And then before that generation, the Charger was the 2-door and a 4-door. And now we're back to a 2-door and a 4-door Charger. So if you love Hemis and you love muscle cars, you'll know all that. But for the rest of us, not that I don't love Hemis or muscle cars, it's a little confusing. But anyway, we have a 4-door Charger. And I think that Dodge has managed to pull off the styling, because we bought a Hellcat Challenger because I thought it looked more muscly and more elegant in some ways. But in the previous generation, the Charger, the 4-door, sold and outsold the Challenger by quite a bit. And I think that's a fine line to be able to walk, to be able to create a 4-door muscle car with something even more unusual. Come on back here, Cole, because you would think if this were a 60s car that this is a trunk, but it's really not. If you look at it, it is indeed a hatchback. So tons of room, tons of road presence, and tons of horsepower. I mean, we're looking at 670 when you activate the power shot. Where did they hide the closer? Here it is. Which is a lot. 0 to 60, you know, electric cars, instant torque. I'm gonna go in the 3-ish range, enough to certainly give you tunnel vision. And 100 kilowatt hour battery. And according to Aaron Driver, not so much charging speed. I think they got it up to 183 kilowatts at its top charging rate. So as an electric car, there are issues. Not enough range, it doesn't charge quick enough, and even at 3 seconds, age 0 to 60, Model S Plaid will, you know, take it in a straight line on a drag strip. And that's a problem for Dodge, because Dodges have always been known for being the biggest, the baddest, the quickest at the drag strip. And now you've got Tesla that'll actually beat this. So the reception has been, if I'm being kind, problematic at best, and troublesome at worst. And Tim Kuniskis, who came back, who used to run Dodge, who's now running Ram, has come back, and it's kind of spearing up the renaissance, I'm gonna say, of the Stellantis brands. Will probably give all of you muscle car, Hemi car guys and gals what you want. In fact, just today, Ram announced this bringing back the Hemi into the pickup truck. So how long before, instead of the Hurricane, which they've announced, twin turbo V6, you'll find maybe a Hemi under the hood. I got to believe that's coming. And as you know, there is still a Hellcat version of the Durango out there. So that powertrain is still in production. And I think if you stick a Hellcat powertrain in this, people will be knocking down the doors to buy it just because of the styling. But we don't have any of that. That all may be coming. So let's review what we have and let's take it for a ride and see how it does. But first and foremost, let's look at the room in here because it is very big in an American car sort of way. In other words, it's kind of bigger on the outside than on the inside, which is just fine. But look at this, 6'2", plenty of headroom, plenty of knee room. You've got 2 USB-Cs, you got heated seats back here, you got your own vents. I mean, this is an American big-ass sedan, which is lovely, and I applaud them for doing the 4-door. I think that they knew that the Charger outsold the Challenger, so why not? But let's see how... All right, not enough headroom. It's kind of hard to get out of this, and that's because it's got this low sloping roof line, and so that is a little bit tricky. By the way, I'm here as part of the Rocky Mountain Automotive Press, which is a local press association, automotive press association. So I've only got about a half hour with this car. So I'm doing these fast takes and kind of giving you my first impressions. Now, Tommy did a review of the 2-door. Oh, that is loud even here. And you can, by the way, you can turn off that Fradsonic exhaust. So if you find that to be a little bit too much, then you can make it, as quiet as any other electric car. So what we have basically is, of course, what has been pioneered by a lot of electric cars. You've got this giant roof that's all glass. I don't think it has a shade, which is also somewhat problematic. You've got a traditional muscle car shifter here. Electric muscle car shifter, I guess, would be a good word for it. And then you've got, the Uconnect system, which actually works really well. Let me try to change the drive mode right here. So it's in sport, track, drag. I'm going to put it in drag. This is all-wheel drive, so it should be very quick, 0 to 60. I'm just going to accelerate up to the speed limit, and I'm going to use the power shot, which gives you even more power, to see just how it accelerates. So here we go. Put my head back. Yeah, tunnel vision inducing. 10 seconds remaining on the power shot. Now it locks my seat belt, which is a pain in the butt. What do I think? I think it's kind of loud and unnecessarily loud. So let me see if I can. There we go. I just put in wet and snow. Let's just turn the Fradsonic exhaust off and talk about what it's like to drive this car. Big meaty steering wheel. Obviously, you've got instant torque, but how does it go around a turn? Well, we're about to find out. A little bit of front end push, which I would expect, but generally, in the best of muscle car traditions, this is a straight line speed car. I'm sure it would go around a track, but there is a lot of weight given the fact that there is a pretty heavy battery underneath this car. Now, this isn't Stellantis' first electric car rodeo. I mean, they built a lot of electric cars in Europe under many of the brands that they own. Of course, the Jeep 4xe has been around a while. They just came out with an all-electric Jeep Wagoneer S. And for our first attempt, it's not bad, especially when you combine it with the sexy car styling. But it does, in some ways, feel like this is their first shot at it. I kind of feel like if we can actually get to, Daytona 2.0, they'll figure out some of the electric car parts, faster charging, more range, less cost. Cole, do you remember how much, this is a 2026, so they haven't announced pricing yet. Do you know how much the current 2-door cost? Do you remember? 74, thank you, Cole. So $74,000 for the 2-door. I'm guessing the 4-door is going to be a little bit more expensive. I think they just announced that they did away with the RT, which is kind of the base version. So, that's 74 before the tax credits, but as we know, under the current legislation, those are going away. So we've got kind of this double whammy of trying to sell electric cars to people who don't like electric cars, and then trying to sell them at $74,000+. And I kind of fear that that's a recipe for failure in some ways. And I hate to say that because, I love this brand. And I think that under Tim Kuniskis, for all of you internal combustion engine fans, we are going to see a speed up of the Hurricane twin turbo going under the hood. And like I said, I'm guessing that it won't be long before we also see a Hemi under the hood. Whether it's a Hellcat or not, hard to say, but I'm sure that's got to be, in their planning stages, especially with kind of the way the wind is blowing politically these days. So let's talk about the rest of the car. Uconnect is fine. I'm not a big fan of these haptic controls. I wish they hadn't done that. In terms of kind of internal styling, as the previous Charger Challenger twins were designed, my gosh, it must be 10 years ago or longer now. And this is just such a huge step up from that. Much more elegant, much more design, much better design interior in terms of its design language, and a lot more room. So I kind of feel like we've gone away in America from the traditional American sedan, and this brings it roaring back. Do people want the traditional American large sedan, or do they want crossovers and SUVs? Well, the answer is they want crossovers and SUVs. But if you love a car with road presence, with lots of cojones, as Nathan would say, then there is no other car that can beat this car. The question is, can you get past the fact, if you're a Dodge loyalist, that what's under the hood, isn't a Hemi? So let's see if it's got a frunk. That's the last thing we have to really check out before we wrap this up. So I'm gonna pop the hood. And let's see how much space is under the hood. Oh my God, those are some big, meaty ass tires. No wonder the range is, I think the range is just like over 200. So there is a frunk, enough to store a charger, maybe some dirty clothes that you don't want stinking up the interior, but it does have it. And look at these tires, Cole. Holy cannoli, I didn't even notice that. Look at the size of those. Let's see what the size is. See if I can read it. Let's go on the other side where we can see it in the sun. And I wonder if they're asymmetrical. Oh my God, so they're 305, 325 R20s, and Goodyear, what is it? 325, 35 R20s. 325, yeah, so they're not asymmetrical, they're Eagles. That is a lot of rubber. Yeah, that's a lot of rubber. Carbon fiber, real or fake, don't know, but it looks good. So, we have ourselves a conundrum. We have a group of buyers who loves Hemis, who loves muscle cars, and they don't have a lot of choices. If you're a Hemi fan or a muscle car fan, you got the Mustang, no Camaro, maybe the Corvette, which is real of a sports car, but this is a genuine muscle car. But right now, this Frunk isn't doing it for you, is it? So, what do you do? What do you do? Let me know in the comments, because I'm as on the fence about it as anybody else. I mean, it's quicker. I'm sure it's quicker than probably even a Hellcat in a straight line, but it doesn't have that kind of visceral feeling that you get with this heart-like pounding of the V8, and that takes away from the driving experience for a lot of you guys. And if you love, explosions under the hood, then maybe that is more important than how quick it goes from 0 to 60 or down the drag strip. I would really love to know your opinion, because I'm assuming a lot of you are going to be like, hell no, but maybe you won't be. Let me know in the comments below, and as always, head on over to alltfl.com for more news, views, and real-world reviews. We'll see you next time. Ciao.